Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we're doing one of my favorite videos. I love doing these. Today we're ranking a bunch of the upcoming decks in Yu-Gi-Oh! This is actually post Infinite Forbidden. I know the hype thing right now is to focus on Infinite Forbidden, but since it's basically here, I actually want to look past that a little bit and start ranking some of the decks that are actually looking to come out after Infinite Forbidden, because Infinite Forbidden has a lot of impact, but there's actually a lot of stuff kind of hiding in the shadow that also could be pretty good as well. So that's what we're talking about today. I'm giving a rough estimate of where I look at some of these archetypes, how I see some of these archetypes for now, at least where they're at, because some of these are only like halfway through. They don't have all of their cards revealed yet, but you'll see. We'll talk about it as we get through. But yeah, let's just dive into this thing. Let's just get some of the gunk out of the way. Ragnara, I guess it's Rogue. You could maybe argue it's in High Rogue, but it's kind of hard to... It's hard to rank a deck like Ragnara because it can be played in a handful of different ways. The problem is, I'm not sure if too many of those ways are like actually really good. I think they're okay. I think there's a couple ways that make them Rogue, but they're not like High Rogue to me. Like High Rogue / like Tier 3, I feel like it's like just under that. Still could top a regional, but like higher level events, I don't have the most faith in unless it's like somebody who really knows their stuff. So I put in, I guess, Rogue for now. Plus they only get one trap card in Rage of the Abyss, and it really does not change much for the deck, like at all. So just okay for me. Next up, we have the Red Eye stuff. I guess I'll put it in High Rogue, or not the Red Eye stuff. This is technically like the Metalzoa stuff, or the Metal Morph stuff. I'm going to put it in High Rogue, but this is like with a very hard caveat. I kind of poo-pooed this stuff when it got revealed. I don't feel that differently than I felt then. I feel like I'm still pretty on point with this engine. This engine is not great going second, and the only real actual use I've seen people make, like finding ways to make this like little engine playable, is by playing one copy of the trap and one copy of this guy, the Red Eyes guy, in the main deck for Dragon Link, where they can just basically set up the play where they get to the Omni Negate, because they don't have Borreload Savage anymore. They can't make Barone anymore, and so they lose some of their Omni Negation. So this does give them a going first way to set up an Omni Negate. That's basically it. Other than that, I really haven't seen anybody really talking this engine up, because I think part of that is it's pretty bad going second. And like engines that can't go second, you don't want them to riddle your main deck, because it means anytime you lose the die roll game one, you're kind of in a tough spot if you draw these cards. So I'll put it at High Rogue, because it could just end up in Dragon Link decks as like a little baby 2-card engine. But outside of that, I really don't think it's that important. Trickstar is just, I guess, Rogue. To me, like, listen, I know I talked them kind of up. I actually still think you could, like, top a regional with them for sure. Kind of same as Ragnara. Like, these decks can definitely top regionals. Higher level events, I don't see it. I don't see the overall power output until Konami decides to give Trickstar, like, a legit strong fusion boss monster that the trap card can make. The deck doesn't have a strong enough going first play to, like, actually guarantee wins. And so until we get that, it's nice. Their engine has been boosted, and they're sitting kind of on the cusp of waiting for a legit powerful payoff going first. But until we get like all the way there with like an actual like end board piece, doing the reincarnation stuff doesn't work unless you hard draw Droll. So yeah, that's kind of where you're at. So next up I have the Aqua Angel here. She represents Marincess, because she counts as a Marincess card, and basically from the Trickstar support, Marincess low-key just gets like a really nice card here in this card. This card actually low-key really helps them a lot. It gives them like 1-card lines that can make like Bahamut and Toad, gives them a lot of 2-card lines that make it a Bahamut Toad way easier than before, and the potential at getting full hand knowledge from your opponent, also very strong. This is a deck that doesn't appreciate Nib, so being able to get early hand knowledge to either see whether your opponent has Nib or not really early, or any hand traps that your opponent might be trying to hold for later, they can kind of get caught with their hand in the cookie jar by holding them too long, and then you get a look at them, and then you know exactly how you want to dodge and approach those hand traps. So really cool card. Even if it's a 1-of in the deck, it's just so accessible in the deck. It's really accessible. So I actually think this deck is like better than Dragon. Like, I don't know if I can put it all the way up at tier 2 just because of power creep and all that stuff right now. But I think it's High Rogue, and I think it could maybe even creep up into solid tier 2 if enough players jump on it. It's really cool. ABCXYZ. Now this one's another one that's just kind of hard to say because of how much this deck like board spams. I just don't expect this deck to be very good in the OCG with the Mulcharmies combined with Max D now. I just don't think this deck can perform for them. So we're not going to get much good data with this deck. I do think it has the potential though of solid tier 2. I don't see 100% tier 1. I still think the deck has enough bricks in the deck where like tier 1 is going to be tough for me to accept. I think people are going to go in like more consistent options that way. But that being said, the deck's still pretty consistent overall. Apparently it breaks through hand traps pretty dang well as well. And also does have a pretty dang high ceiling. Once you do get everything you want, your board gets pretty nasty pretty quick. So I think all three of those things kind of make this deck really potentially stand out. Like the one thing you could say with Marincess, very consistent, decent at playing through hand traps, barring Nib. It gets a little better with this card at playing through Nib. But it doesn't have the overall ceiling. When you go first, you don't set up crazy boards. There are decks that could just potentially crash through you and then just attack you for game. Whereas this deck, that's not really happening, dude. Your ceiling's pretty high. If you resolve your combo, your opponent's not breaking through. So I like it at tier 2. I think it's got real potential. We'll see how many players jump on it. Sharks, I think same thing. I'm scared of Sharks, man. Sharks are so scary. When their first action is like put 2 level 4 waters on the field before you even really have a great chance to hand trap them, you're already in trouble because you already like one hand trap there already is at least guaranteeing them a full setup of the Armored Exceed package, even if you stop the Bahamut Shark. You know what I mean? And then if they're able to extend into another one, you are in a lot of trouble. So I think this deck's pretty scary. I actually think it's pretty good, and I think its engine got a lot cleaner, even though half the cards were pretty terrible from their new support. The other half are actually, I think, enough, specifically surfacing Big Jaws, being able to replace the armor torpedo with the new La Virtue Dragon actually significantly helps those lines. It makes those lines a lot more powerful, as well as the 7th Tachyon is a really nice consistency card. Those, I think, are the most important things we got, and they really do a lot to really shore up a lot of what the deck really needed, especially in the main deck. Consistency and extendability in the main deck really got significantly better with these new cards. So I think it's legit. I think it was already a low-key scary deck, but it was more so like, I guess, rogue tier. This wave of support is strong enough to, I think, potentially jump 2 tiers into the solid tier 2 category. So I really like it here. This one's weird as well. Really, I honestly don't fully know exactly where we're going to see this end up. Again, a deck that maybe is not amazing versus the OCG style formats, but I do think it has some power, man. This deck kind of reminds me of Sharks a little bit in the way they play. A lot of 1-card combos now that just basically get you to some pretty powerful turn 1 setups. And also low-key like potential to go second. Like this is just kind of one of those engines that just kind of plops level 8s on the board, big level 8s. So, you know, can kind of push into board sometimes with engines like that decently well, combined with hand traps and board breakers and stuff. So I think it's going to be one of those decks where it has some 1-card plays that are strong enough, combined with the fact of having like a good amount of space for non-engine. I think this deck actually could have solid tier 2 potential. Raziel, these are not in order, by the way, on here. I wouldn't, but I don't consider them in order, at least. Raziel. I'm actually quite excited for Raziel. I know a lot of people have kind of poo-pooed the archetype overall. They've basically said it's really boring, it's super linear. So is Mathmech. So is Sprite. Like, low-key, like, Sprite. Like, I know Sprite has some things they can do with being able to, like, go into, like, generic level 2s and kind of, you know what I mean, have some cool playability there. But, like, still, like, in terms of the lines they took, more often than not, those lines were super linear for both of those strategies, and a lot of people love those strategies. I don't think this deck is that different. I think this deck has consistency. I think it has the ability to beat hand traps. I don't love that it has a very clear choke point in, it's not this one, the other Exceed. I can't remember the name off the top of my head. I don't love that that card's like a very clear choke point, but all things being considered, I really do think this deck has quite a bit going for it. It also only has all but 1 card revealed, so they actually still have another card coming. It should be a spell. You can do a lot with the spell. They can get extra consistency, they can get extra extendability, they can get an extra, like they have a generic rank 4 that searches any cards in archetype, so it's basically going to be a searchable spell very easily. If it's just any kind of good, that already makes them even better. Then of course we know that these archetypes tend to get multiple waves of support after they come out. So, yeah. I think it's solid. I even think like right now, with just what it has right now, I think could even creep up into tier 2 with even higher potential. So yeah, I think this is a perfect tier for it. As Amina, this feels like tier 1 taking over category for me. Not as an archetype, but as an engine. This engine seems really, really scary, especially since I don't think many people are estimating that Konami will go after like the Dia Bellstar slash like Wanted engine. And so if they don't go after that engine, those cards are like very extra consistent ways to get to this engine, which means you could potentially have like upwards of well over 10 cards, like extenders in your deck that don't take your normal summon, but basically just get you an Omni Negate as first or second summon. And that's really, really scary. So we'll see. A lot of this depends on how hard Konami hits Snake Eyes before this stuff actually comes out into the game. But we're gonna get a look at the OCG because like I don't think they have another ban list coming before they finish the Rage of the Abyss reveals, which means they're gonna get this engine and we're gonna see how powerful Snake Eye is combined with this engine before we even get to see them do their next list, which could potentially put Snake Eye in the grave, but we'll see. But as an engine, really, really strong. Really, really strong, very scary. Yeah, as a generic engine that just gets you Omnis really easily, very scary. Primordial. Now, Primordial here is interesting. I do think this could be played potentially as an engine with other stuff, but I also think this has potential being played as a Phantasm Spiral Pacifist deck. So I don't know if I can, with a clear conscience, go all the way up to High Rogue. I would love to. I just don't think I can go that far. I do, however, think that do not sleep on Phantasm Spiral. Do not sleep on a deck that plays this card, this engine in it. Because I think there's multiple ways you could see it. I've already gone through with like Pacifist, but the idea with the Phantasm Spiral deck is that you probably will have somewhere around 15 completely dead cards in the matchup in any given, like as soon as you sit down from them, and I'm not even sure how many decks will even have that many cards to side in, even once they see that the matchup's really bad for a lot of those non-engine cards. And I think that really puts the deck in a position where like your opponent may just draw 2 to 3, maybe even 4 if they're really unlucky, like completely dead cards in the matchup. Or even if you go second, they drew 4 dead cards, and so you can just win free duels like that, and go from there. So I'm gonna put it in like lower rogue, I guess, but I'm still excited to see what we can do there. Plus, low-key, this is a new archetype that came out in Infinite, or not Infinite Forbidden, they're still Rage of the Abyss. So in the next set, we should be getting new cards for them, which could make the engine even better. Maybe even a more playable, like pure type of deck. We'll see. Six Samurai, I'm still going to put this in low rogue as well. I'll be honest, like, as much as I think these, you know what? I'm going to put it in lower rogue. I don't know if in clear conscious I can go all the way up to high rogue. Here's my thing here. One, this deck still does not appear to have 1-card combos, unless I'm wrong. Maybe the difference for the OCG is that they do have MX Saber Invoker. No. Is it Master Duel that has MX Saber Invoker? I can't remember. One of the formats has MX Saber Invoker. That format, they may have 1-card combos, because just any 1-card rank 3, basically, I think might just be a 1-card combo for the deck. But until we actually, like, confirm that, I'm not entirely sure how good, you know what I mean, this is. This is a deck, not 1-card combo, and probably needs a good amount of space for engine in the main deck. And unless your engine is like crazy, like branded on that level, it kind of seems like those kind of decks like have trouble surviving competitive formats in the modern day TCG. So we'll see. I'm going to put him in the lower rogue. I still think totally top a regional, but like reaching up higher than that, I think seems a little more lofty right now. And I could be proven wrong. Maybe I'm lowballing them. Please let me know if you feel differently. I don't know like super in depth, because we still haven't even seen the cards be played in the OCG yet, but this is kind of my impression right now of where they sit. Good support, but like the way they work, it does not favor for them. It's not favorable for them in the modern day TCG, or just, you know, competitive environment. Blue Eyes. I'm going to put Blue Eyes in solid tier 2. Maybe I'm coping a little bit. I don't even like Blue Eyes, but I think my biggest thing here is they have 4 more cards coming. Like, that's my thing. Is it's a little bit of projection. This is why it's tier 2 potential. But yeah, with the first 4 cards, I've already seen some pretty impressive stuff that they can already get away with like already. And I think that being the case, I kind of just look at them and go, yeah, I don't know. The deck seems like it actually plays. I don't know. Like the deck actually has real potential. And then tack onto that, like even if the last 4 cards aren't crazy, they don't need to be. The first 4 cards are solid enough. They have the searching spell, the extender spell, the extra monster that actually significantly makes them a little better because it actually gives them a legit strong, extra strong target for the Synchro 9 that tags out. And the Maiden. She's actually really clean. She's actually super, super important because she gets True Light in rotation on field face up turn 1, which really, really adds a lot of speed to the deck. So overall, I'm like pretty receptive to this. I think they're in a decent spot. I hope the last 4 cards aren't out of this world, make them guaranteed tier 1, but like, yeah, I think it's fun if Blue Eyes is actually decent, not just like this annoying like cope deck that like only anime fans play. I think it'd be cool if it's like actually like a decent rogue strategy, or maybe even tier 2. But I think it has the potential for that, so we'll leave it there. Mimighoul, let me cope, man. Let me cope. Okay, here's my thing with Mimighoul, right? I'm gonna put them in, I guess, rogue. I don't think they're bad enough to put them in. I think they have enough going on to where like they do have some spicy stuff going on with them. The reason they're on here too is this: they're getting 7 cards in Rage of the Abyss. Now, we've seen Konami drop the ball very recently with second waves of archetypes that were TCG exclusive. So I don't have like a ton of faith that Konami's going to come through and knock it out of the park. But I do think they've got a solid start. They've got 2 different Stratoses, a searching field spell, a trap that summons stuff on the opponent's turn, and Book of Moon stuff. And I feel and another spell that like adds 1 and summons 1 in the opponent's field. All in 1 card. Like, there is a good amount of like solid engine setups here. I do feel like overall what the deck does isn't quite strong enough at slowing the opponent down just yet. But 7 more cards can do a lot. So a little bit of cope, just because we know how bad Konami has been with TCG exclusive lately, Ashen being the most recent example. But I'm going to throw it in here, and I do think there's the potential for it to end up in high rogue, maybe even solid tier 2, but like I don't see many going second options for the deck right now. So until they get like maybe some better option for going second, I still think high rogue could actually be a reachable position as like the new sub-terror. A little bit stunny, a little bit annoying, but probably fun to play. So I'm definitely looking out for them. Goblin Bikers, I can put them in high rogue. I do think it's going to be dependent on the format, but like, look at some of these, right? Exceeds, sometimes rank 8s, but couple like decent Exceed decks coming into the fold soon. Like, this archetypes gets better around other XYZ decks in the format, and they do get some solid engine pieces. Badass Goblin Bikers plus the quick play E-Telly card. Those cards do help the engine a little bit. Not out of this world, but like I do think it may bump them from like more of an I guess rogue level to the next level high rogue, and hopefully compete. But I may be coping. They may still just, you know what? I don't know. I can't in good conscience put them up there. We'll put them down here with the rest here. But I do still think they get a little better. It just might not be quite enough to get them into like high level rogue. Allure Queen. This stuff's weird. I don't fully know exactly what I want to do here. I'm gonna put it in because I don't think it has a home. Honestly, until we get like enough stuff, maybe it's new Magistus stuff or whatever, I don't know, but unless we get enough spellcaster stuff to really turn it into like a spellcaster pile deck, this engine for me just doesn't fully come together. Allure Queen is not enough of an archetype on its own to play pure. The extra deck card, the new Link 3 is nice. They do have a couple main deck cards that like search you out some Allure Queen stuff, but the bigger problem on top of that is that like, what do you do with them? This card is a nice engine piece, but I don't believe it's a 1-card Allure Queen Link. If it was, it'd be better, right? Because then at least without normal, you could get to her, and that's decent payoff, actually. But for me, it feels a little incomplete. This is a good engine card. Some of those searching cards are nice. The new extract monster is actually not bad, but like, it's not all there. They don't really have enough to go all the way through it. So for me, it's kind of feels a little unfinished, but we'll wait and see if we get anything else. And last one is the Exodia archetype. For me, this is like, I guess, rogue. To play this deck, you have to play all 5 Exodia pieces. That's why I don't even think it can be high-level rogue. I think it has to be more mid-level rogue. But it's fun. The new Blue Eyes card, the 4th Blue Eyes card, is cool for the deck. But it's nothing crazy. Like, it's a nice card. It's an automatic include in the deck, probably as a one of, because its main effect is once per duel, but still decent for what it is. So I don't mind it. I think it's fine. They don't get much better, but they were still in an okay position. The fact that an Exodia deck can be considered legitimately rogue in 2024 is still kind of impressive. So there you go. That's kind of where I rank all the new decks. It's also important to note there's a lot of stuff coming right around the corner. We should have the live stream and on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday for Rage of the Abyss. We'll get like a handful of stuff revealed there. Then we'll get the rest of the reveals for that set throughout basically the week following. We should also in the next couple weeks get the final 2 archetypes revealed for Crossover Breakers. Either of those could immediately look like next meta contenders. Of course, we'll get the 4 more Blue Eyes cards over the next month and a half as well, and probably some other sets revealed and announced, and maybe some other stuff shown. So there's stuff around the corner too, but that's literally the case at all times when I'm looking at making these videos. So it's not really an excuse to hold off, because there'll always be some kind of excuse of like, something's gonna get revealed though soon. Yeah, Konami's always doing reveals. So but yeah, that's everything for me today. Let me know your thoughts down below on this stuff. What are you most excited for? Also, what do you maybe disagree with the most here? These are just my interpretations right now, especially with most of these cards not even being in the OCG yet, so we really haven't seen much gameplay from a lot of these at all. But I'd love to hear your guys' overall thoughts and where you kind of diverge off from me in opinion on some of these upcoming decks. But I'm out of here for today. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening to me ramble like a fool. Hopefully we get a little bit of news before Sunday. It's looking like it's being a little dry this week. I'm hoping they're not holding everything for Sunday. That way we at least just get some stuff leading up to it. But we'll obviously have to wait and see. I will keep you posted with anything new Yu-Gi-Oh! News-wise that drops. Other than that, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.